Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head to the Åland Islands once again for the first time in about 2 years actually, and we're going to revisit the same brewery that I reviewed for you back then. So for this one we are going to return to Stallhagen, who are from a little town called Julbock, just outside of Mariehamn, around 18 kilometres or something like that, and we're having a taste of their Julbock today. This is one of my favourite beer styles, of course. It's a 6.8% German style Doppelbock. You know, I always enjoyed the Celebrator. I also enjoyed the Corbinian as well. That was one that I really quite liked actually. So very curious to see what the Åland Islands can offer in this regard. And for a long time these guys were the only craft brew on Åland, but from what I understand there's another 2 or 3 have opened up since then actually. So hopefully I can get out there and have a little look at the islands. I've heard it's a very, very beautiful place, and of course when I first reviewed these beers, I reviewed the US Red Ale if I remember correctly, and then one of my viewers who went over to Åland quite often sent me a few of the different beers for the YouTube channel, which was really cool of them. So I got to try the Shipwreck beer, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but really looking forward to this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Stallhagen before. Hopefully I can do some more in the near future. Like I said, I do hope to visit the Åland Islands at some point fairly soon. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Åland beers that I've done for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then about this one. So to tell you a bit about the Stallhagen Brewery. So Stallhagen were founded back in 2004 by a group of beer enthusiasts, and the brewery now have over 2,700 shareholders. So the brewery is based in Julbock, which is around 18 kilometres from the capital city Mariehamn, as I mentioned to you earlier, and it's actually the oldest craft brewery on the islands. So the current CEO is Jan Venstrom, and the brewmaster is Mette Ekholm, who if I remember correctly is actually Danish, but he's been with the brewery since 2008 and trained at the Scandinavian School of Brewing in Copenhagen. But he says he likes to stick to basically using malt, hops, yeast and water in his beers, essentially the German purity law, and the brewery production was over 850,000 litres as of 2016. But the brewery have their own pub as well, which is called Pub Stallhagen, and they've also got a 1,000 seater amphitheatre at the brewery as well, which hosts various music and theatre events as well. So since I first encountered these guys back in 2015, they have grown quite substantially. They do have, you know, their production volume has grown a hell of a lot actually in that short time. But one of the really cool things about this brewery is the fact that they brew what they call the Shipwreck beer. So back in 2010 there was a crate washed up on the shores of Åland, and it contained some It was from a shipwreck, and it contained some bottles of champagne and some bottles of beer. So they did a dive to this shipwreck and recovered some of these, and it was taken to the VTT Technical Research Centre in Finland, and they did a lot of basically kind of recreation work and actually managed to produce the yeasts that created this beer again. They say it was supposed to be a luxury beer because back in the times when this beer was new, it wasn't common for them to bottle beers. They found the beer in bottles, which was really cool, and they did a whole special release and things, you know, hand blown bottles and things like that were numbered, and then eventually it became one of the regular beers from Stallhagen, which is pretty cool, and you can check out my review of that, and you'll find that if you look at the links in the description below, pardon me, you will be able to find that. I'm still recovering of course a little bit from this cough that I've had, which is a bit of a challenge when you want to do some beer videos, but yeah, still good to actually taste the beers. It's fine once you get a little bit of liquid in your throat, and it's all about what kind of liquid it is. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about the brewery just now. If you want to learn a little bit more, do check out the brewery website in the description below, and as always you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and things like that too. But let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself. So like I mentioned to you, this one comes in at 6.8% and it's a German style Doppelbock. We can get rid of the brewery notes. So this one is hopped with Magnum and Sat, so Czech hops and a little bit of German hops. But yeah, nicely presented beer, this one. I do like the artwork on that, that's really quite cool. The little straw sort of goat, or I'm not sure if it could be a dog actually, I'm not sure. And you can see there's a little bit of you know, it's custom bottles that they have for these Stallhagen beers, and you can see handmade on the bottle cap. They're handmade in the Åland Islands. The slow beer Stallhagen. That's the slow beer, of course, is their little motto. But let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Very curious to see what this Åland Island Doppelbock is like. Yeah. So yeah, as you can see, nice smoky opening on this one. So let's get it out and into the glass. I think this is going to be really nice. We'll just make sure we don't get too big ahead on this one. I think that is going to fade away just quite nicely. So yeah, look at that. Lovely looking beer. As I've told you before, this is one of my favourite beer styles. So yeah, with this one, it's, oh, this is annoying. It's actually poured a really nice dark ebony rosewood colour. It actually looks a bit more like an imperial stout than it does a Doppelbock, because normally the Doppelbocks are a little bit kind of clearer and more mahogany than this, but this is definitely more of an ebony sort of rosewood colour. You can see there's a solid finger of a frothy kind of medium beige head on this one, a few big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But you know, not a little bit darker than you'd normally expect from the Doppelbock, but definitely not anything overly surprising in terms of the appearance. You know, it looks very nice. But yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma and just see how we get on with this one. Oh, that smells really interesting actually. So yeah, a little bit of smokiness, not smokiness, there's a little bit of an almost kind of syrupy, charred chocolate kind of thing coming out of this one, which is really interesting. Don't know where I got smokiness from. Must have been thinking about the Rauch beers again. But yeah, lovely, sweet, brown sugary note to this one. It smells like quite a well-fired brown sugar, if that makes sense. It's really nice and toasty and almost a little bit syrupy. There's a good little bit of a treacle, molasses sort of thing going on with this beer, and then you've got some sweeter caramel on top of that, and a little bit of a biscuity quality to it as well. So yeah, really nice beer, this one, I have to say. I like the aroma of this, it's really nice. It's definitely got a little bit of that kind of German brown bready base that you'd always get from the likes of the Celebrator or the Corbinian or these kind of these Doppelbocks. The Salvator is another one that's coming to mind. Maximator. It really has that lovely kind of brown, almost German rye bready base to it. But like I say, nice bit of brown sugar in there, some treacle molasses, a little bit of sweeter caramel. It does smell quite roasty and toasty, the brown elements of this one. There's almost a little touch of a kind of charred chocolate to this beer as well. And maybe even just a little bit of a kind of woody character as well. You can definitely pick up these kind of noble hoppy elements. You will get that from the Sats, mainly the Sats. Obviously it's a Czech hop, right enough. Žatic, as the Czechs call it, but it does have the same kind of characteristics of the Hallertau and the Tettnanger and things like that. A little bit of sweet earthiness, some nice kind of floral grassy aromas to it as well, and you can also pick out a little bit of a red fruity note to this beer too. Ooh, yeah, it smells really nice. Yeah, so a little bit of a kind of figgy note or something like that, a little bit of an almost candied red fruity ester to this beer, but overall it's got a really nice aroma. To me it leans towards the bready side of things, and it's got that lovely brown sugary backbone that I was talking about as well. So as I always say, take a little bit of time and have a go at the aroma before you actually taste the beer. But let's have a taste of this one now. Very curious to see how this one turns out. So this one is the Julbock from Stallhagen on the Åland Islands, an autonomous Swedish-speaking region that kind of belongs to Finland. But yeah, let's get stuck into this one. Slange, skål. Oh, that was pretty nice, I have to say. That is a good beer. I like what this one's doing. Yeah, take a few sips of this and just let your whole mouth adjust to it, because it's doing some really, it has everything you'd expect from the Doppelbock style, but it's just combining in lots of different ways. Jeez. Yeah, it's combining in lots of nice kind of different ways. This, you can just feel across the middle of your palate, you've got that nice kind of brown bready malt that I was talking about, that just blankets the middle of your palate there. And it's very, very smooth. The thing I'm noticing about this one, it has all the flavours you'd expect to the Doppelbock, but the mouthfeel is quite different, and that makes the flavours of this beer come out in a different way from the way the German ones would. Yeah, so for me, as I say, lovely brown bready base on this. Incidentally, when you come a little bit further forward on it, you do get a little bit of that kind of woody note out of this beer, which is nice. Definitely has a little bit of that kind of woody presence to it. Almost a little bit nutty when you move into the centre of the palate too, but lovely brown bready note. Sweet brown sugars in there. It is more like a kind of treacle molasses sort of thing, whichever one you want to use, whether you want to use American English or English. But yeah, lovely, oh jeez, lovely, oh Jesus, lovely sort of brown sugary notes to this one. Nice little bit of sweet chocolate in there as well. You can feel the chocolate right in the centre of your palate too, and it really, it just all blends together so nicely. This is one of these beers where it's all about how these different flavours kind of blend together, and it's really nicely done, this one. The thing I would say is the mouthfeel, it's got quite a bit of carbonation to it, and it makes the beer almost a little bit crisp, but at the same time it does have that German smoothness. It's maybe just a little touch over carbonated in my opinion, but the flavours of the beer are really, really nice. It might have just been, this beer might have just been stirred up, of course, when it's been imported. That's something you do have to take into account. Yeah. So that would be one of the things I would say. My flavours of this beer, really nice, but just a little touch over carbonated for me. I would always want a Doppelbock to just be a little bit kind of smoother than that. Hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, you've got that nice earthy kind of flavour. As you come further forward along the sides of your tongue, it just smooths out a little bit. There's a little touch of a floral note at the front corners of your palate, then round the very front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit lighter and grassy, and of course behind the front curve of that palate, you get that nice kind of oily bubble where those juicy, fruity esters start to come out of the beer. But yeah, nice kind of, it's mainly a figgy, I'm finding it's a sort of figgy flavour that's the basis of this one. It's almost got a little bit of a kind of sultana note to it as well. There's maybe a little tiny touch of a raisiny sharpness to this beer. And the further into the aftertaste you go, the more kind of candied and fruity this beer becomes. But it is really, really nice. The flavour combinations in this beer are very, very nice, and the fruitiness, I like the way that kind of just lingers there in the aftertaste of this beer. But it's got a lovely kind of blend of chocolate and brown sugars, this one, and it's just really nicely done. In terms of its flavour profile, it is really, really nice. But it's quite, the flavours come out quite differently with this one in comparison with the German the German ones. I think the German ones are just a little bit sweeter. This one is almost just a little bit more kind of bready-ish, if that makes sense. And I do like that. I always love these kind of big, almost rye bready, German rye bready flavours that you get in these beers. But this one to me leans a little bit more towards the bready side of things, but I really like what they've done with this beer. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again. I'd love to try it on tap actually, so maybe that's something that I can hopefully get out to Åland and do at some point. But yeah, really like how all the flavours in this beer go together. In terms of the mouthfeel then, this one is top end of mid-bodied, bottom end of full-bodied. Carbonation is a little bit prickly on this one. It's quite as I said, it's a little touch over-carbonated, I would say, just for this style. You would normally expect them to be a little bit smoother. It has that little bit of an oily character in the mouthfeel that you would expect. I think that's fair to say too. Yeah, nice little bit of oily character in the mouth. And it's also got a little bit of a kind of hoppy, some smoothness in there as well, and it's also got some nice juicy fruity qualities as well. It's got, you know, nice, as I say, nice sweetness in the malt base, bit of smooth, backed up by a bit of smoothness from the bread. Nice little touch of hoppy bitterness and some juicy fruity characters in there as well. But yeah, overall just a really quite nice beer. This one, I like how everything goes together in this beer. So yeah, if you get the chance to try this one, definitely have a go at it. Just be aware, it's a little bit more bready than some of the German Doppelbocks that you will come across. It's nice to see another country having a take at this, pardon me, at this style. And I really like what they've done with this one. Trust me, I can actually taste what's going on in this beer. It's just this cough is being a little bit annoying. It was fine up until I actually wanted to film this, which is typical, of course. But yeah, really nice beer, this one, and I'm glad I was able to review it for you, and I won't bother you anymore with my coughing. So yeah, this one was the Julbock from Stallhagen in Gresleby, just outside of Mariehamn on the Åland Isles. A really nice Doppelbock, this one leaning a little bit more towards the bready side of things. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Stallhagen as well, and hopefully I can return to these guys in the fairly near future when I'm not recovering from a kind of annoying cough, of course. But yeah, thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Julbock from Stallhagen on the Åland Islands. Lovely, lovely beer. Slange just now, skål.